Builders accidentally unearthed a forgotten time capsule, but what was inside gave them chills. When Albuquerque Public Schools decided to tear down one of their deteriorating facilities, demolition crews ceased their work after they found a time capsule. So staff broke the tiny glass bottle to read the letters inside, and they discovered a terrifying message from a student who once roamed the halls of the old school. On Arbor Day in 1968, the staff at Montgomery Elementary School had decided to plant a few new trees on its grounds. And with the earth already tilled around the trees, they came up with another idea. They could sew a few time capsules into the dirt beneath the fresh foliage. Students at the school then penned letters to future readers and detailed their lives in the late 1960s. Multiple classes participated in the project, sealing their messages into glass, cork-topped milk bottles. But not all the time capsules would come to light when crews tore up the same earth in 2016. In fact, the team uncovered only one of the 1960s capsules. They popped the cork off the container, but struggled to pull the message out of the bottle. So they cracked the glass and started to remove the letters hidden inside. And one of them stood out for all the wrong reasons. We'll discover exactly what was discovered in that letter a bit later. But first, let's learn a bit more about the school and the area in which it was discovered. The end of World War II in 1945 kicked off a population boom in Albuquerque, New Mexico. As such, the public school district in charge of the state's biggest city had to add multiple new institutions to keep up with the sheer amount of new students. By 1956, nearly 40,000 children attended schools under the Albuquerque public school system. In the same year, Montgomery Elementary School opened, but by the early 1980s, the school had closed its doors, to students at least. APS used the facility as a training center for teachers, the fine arts, and special education. However, by 2016, the building had become too run down to serve its purpose anymore. The district then decided to tear down the old Montgomery Elementary School building that year. In its place, they would eventually construct a brand new facility for teacher training to continue. A new school on the same site was also considered, but the original structure had to go first. When news spread of APS's plan to tear down Montgomery Elementary School, though they started to hear from former students, they didn't reach out to oppose the demolition, but to let officials know to be on the lookout for something as they leveled the building. That's because, as we explored earlier, they had buried time capsules on the grounds in the 1960s. Time capsules have, of course, been around much longer than Montgomery Elementary School. Experts estimate that they could have been used long before the oldest examples they know of. For instance, Faneuil Hall in Boston had a time capsule hiding in its grasshopper weather vane with artifacts from the 1760s inside. In another more famous incident, a burst pipe of the Massachusetts State House led repairmen to surprise. They found a time capsule stuffed into the cornerstone by revolutionaries Paul Revere and Sam Adams. They'd placed the containers there in 1795, filling it with coins, newspaper, and a silver plate etched by Revere himself. More recently, the use of time capsules has proliferated in a major way. Indeed, the moniker for these containers was only coined in 1938. William E. Jarvis explained at least one reason for their popularity. In his book, Time Capsules: A Cultural History, he wrote, "We all want to be here in one way or another." Jarvis went on to write, "That's why some of us try to freeze ourselves alive to be thawed and revived in the era of our choice. That's why people construct crypts, time bombs, time capsules, and cornerstone deposits." Still, Jarvis also admitted that time capsules rarely provide historians with anything of great value. Rather than appearing with valuable relics from the past, most time capsules end up revealing junk. Jarvis argued, typically the contents say very little about the people who buried them, and historians derive little value from them. The Montgomery Elementary discovery might fall into this category for experts, but for the school's former students, it meant something more. As such, pupils from multiple classes had gathered at their former school when word spread that a single time capsule had been found. They didn't know to which class the glass bottle belonged. Many of them had participated in the 1968 time capsule burial event, which had taken place on Arbor Day. Former student Brad J. Clement told the Albuquerque Journal in 2016 that school officials had decided to plant new trees on that Arbor Day in 1968, And with the Earth already moved, they realized it would be the perfect time to bury some time capsules on the site. And multiple classes participated in the project, including Clement's. The only way to figure out who had buried the capsule was to open it. But even that wasn't a straightforward process. Former student Cindy Lindke had the honor of opening the cork top bottle, and she told the newspaper that she remembered it being much bigger. Clement did too, but he knew it was because when you're a child, everything seems bigger. Lindke couldn't pull the letters through the thick neck of the container, so someone handed her a piece of rebar and she cracked the glass open instead. Then everyone began to read the letters inside to figure out which class they came from. As it turned out, the messages came from a Montgomery Elementary 4th grade class, of which Clement had been a part of. Leafing through the stack of about 25 letters, the man found a message that he had written when he was 10. And in the video made by the official channel for Albuquerque Public Schools and uploaded to YouTube, he's seen reading it to the gathered crowd. Clement's message began by introducing himself to the future reader. Little did he know it would be himself orating the letter. He wrote in 1968, "My name is J. Brad Clement. My age is 10 years. I am in 4th grade, Montgomery, room 15. My teacher's name is Miss Hofpower." The next line made Clement question the veracity of the claims made by this 4th grade self. As a 10-year-old, he wrote that his friend was Brian O'Connor. In the clip of him reading out the message, the retired music teacher counters, "I don't recall that." Then the video shows both Clement and the crowd listening to him breaking out in laughter. Next, the younger Clement shared his favorite TV shows at the time, Lost in Space and The Monkees. He had more personal ties to the latter because he wrote, "My aunt taught Sunday school to Mickey Dolenz. She worked for Mickey's father and she knew Mike Nesmith." After finding the letter, Clement told Albuquerque Public Schools in 2016 how much the message meant to him. He'd always loved such relics of the past. He explained, "I've kept journals most of my life. I've always been interested in my history and the history in my community, so this is pretty special." Plus, rereading the letter conjured up happy thoughts of his childhood for Clement. He continued, "I remember school being idyllic. I have great memories. I enjoyed walking to school in the mornings." Then he recalled, one thing he didn't miss about being a kid. Clement said, "I don't have great memories of homework, though." Clement's wasn't the only letter in the time capsule, of course. Amid the other 25 notes was one from 9-year-old Pamela Sue Reinman, according to the Albuquerque Journal. She had dated her message first, February 14th, 1968. Then she shared a bit about her life as a kid growing up in that era. Reinman described herself saying, "I collect dolls and play the piano. I am Jewish and we speak Hebrew." Then the young girl penned the Hebrew word for mother. She also gave a tip to future letter readers about how to decipher the language, explaining, "It goes from right to left." Lindke, the woman who smashed open the time capsule, wasn't in the class which created the container. As such, she didn't find her letter amongst the stack, but she did tell KRQE News 13 that one of the messages inside was special to her. In a video uploaded by the news outlet to YouTube, she explains, "I was able to read one of my girlfriends from a long time ago who lived down the street from me." Still, one of the most noteworthy of all the messages came from a boy named Greg Lee Youngman. His letter wasn't as cute as Clement's or as earnest as Ryman's. Instead, Youngman's message from 1968 began in the creepiest way. According to the Albuquerque Journal, the 4th grader began his letter with the line, "I am dead." Youngman then shared a few more details about himself that made the message even stranger. Unlike his classmates who would have been born in the late 1950s, he declared that he was born in 1900. He also called his school by a different name than his classmates. Youngman wrote, "I go to Montgomery School. That's the olden school name." He went on to reiterate the message's creepiest declaration once again, adding, "You auto, now I dead." Then the 4th grader apparently shared a list of hobbies that could very well have been a scary ghost's interest too. Youngman wrote, "My favorite subject is spooking the police." The 4th grader then shared what seemed to be a genuine interest, saying, "I play the guitar. In case you don't know what that is, it's a board with strings on them." And with that, he was ready to conclude his message to the future. Youngman concluded his message by saying, "See you later, savages." To the Albuquerque Journal, it seemed as though the 4th grader thought someone far in the future, perhaps living within a dystopian society, would find his note. But his eerie message could have come from a ghost, Gizmodo claimed. According to the website, no one on the team could confirm if Youngman was alive or dead at the time of the letter reading. Either way, his message made an impression on readers and the press. It was widely shared in the wake of the time capsule discovery, and those who read it online had a lot of thoughts about Youngman's note. One online commenter on the Gizmodo article felt particularly moved by Youngman's "See you later, savages" sign-off, describing it as simply epic. Another person made a joke that the 10-year-old's letter fit in perfectly with modern internet culture. They wrote, "Horrible grammar and fictional ways to identify himself, spot on." Others tried to explain why Youngman wrote what he did. One user thought that he might have been referencing the book Brave New World, saying some kids back then were very well read. Another reader said that Youngman was pointing out that he might not be around for the capsule's discovery, but didn't quite explain himself clearly. The commenter wrote, "My interpretation, an inarticulate kid trying to communicate that the capsule wouldn't be open in his lifetime, he would be dead to those reading. Presumably, he didn't expect it to be recovered and opened so soon." Still, more people lauded Youngman's creativity, with some theorizing that the imaginative writer had become successful as a writer later in life. Unfortunately, unlike Youngman's and Clement's letters, not all the messages written by the Montgomery Elementary students would ever come to light. Linky told Gizmodo that she thought that her message and the other classmates' time capsules still sat underground, and that they'd be lost forever beneath the new school system structure to be built. Of course, one of the major problems with time capsules is that they can easily get lost or destroyed without exact coordinates. It can be tough to relocate them in the future. On top of that, natural elements such as groundwater can destroy these containers in a matter of years. Luckily, one of the Montgomery Elementary School time capsules survived the elements and happened to be rediscovered. Other similar containers, even those buried more recently than theirs, have remained missing beneath the earth. In southwestern Michigan, for instance, former students gathered at Coloma Junior High in 2018 to try and dig up their 30-year-old time capsule. In 1988, the kids had sewn their own flag and written their own constitution to put inside the time capsule. They also added some pop culture artifacts of their time, including a Michael Jackson cassette. And yet, after they'd searched for it decades later, they couldn't find it anywhere. Teacher Sandy Sanders told KOB4, "We're all kind of in the dark trying to remember what was in it and where it was." When the former Coloma students and other adults find the childhood time capsules, though, they're in for a treat. In a video, Robert Laser, a former Montgomery Elementary School student, tells KRQE News 11 that the letters taught him a valuable lesson. He says, "It just brought me back to that kids are kids, whether it was 60 years ago, 50 years ago, or today."